Numerous studies in common sense tells us that organization culture plays an essential role in the development and maintenance of an organization's KM program. For law firms which operate in a relatively unique industry and environment compared to other organizations, culture must be especially important. Since much of the literature on KM and culture focuses more generally on large corporations, could you please throw some light on KM and culture in the context of law firms?
So culture is extremely important for knowledge management. And whenever you are starting a knowledge management program in any organization, the first thing that you need to consider is what the culture of that organization is. And law firms are different from other corporations in that, at least in North America and the UK and Western Europe, they are run by lawyers rather than business people. And I think a lot of people outside of the legal profession don't appreciate how unusual that is, to have an organization that is run essentially by people who are not necessarily business people. And so that, I think, is a very important differentiator in terms of the culture of a law firm. Law firms tend to be somewhat hierarchical in that you have the lawyers who work in the firm and the non-lawyers. And because all of the partners who own the firm are lawyers, you have to be sensitive to the fact that there is somewhat of a separation. I think it's being broken down now, more so than in past years, but there is a hierarchy that you have to, when you come into a different law firm, you have to gauge how much of a hierarchy exists. So in some law firms, it's very hierarchical with the partners calling all the shots. Then there's the associates, and then there is the non-lawyer professionals. But there's other law firms that I've worked in, my current one is like that, where it's a more flat organization. So it is not really the traditional hierarchy. Everybody is kind of considered more of a team. And obviously, if you're in that kind of a culture, you're going to approach knowledge management differently than if you're in a very hierarchical law firm. The other difference among law firm cultures is some are very siloed, so that the lawyers, even though they're all working in a firm, they're not really as team-oriented. In some firms, they're more like a group of sole practitioners who happen to be working in the same place. In other law firms, the lawyers work very much together on matters, and it's more of a team. And so you have to consider which type of law firm culture you're working in, because knowledge management is going to be very different in one of those siloed environments than it would be in a more open, team-oriented environment. And the third, I think, cultural factor you have to look at is how entrepreneurial the lawyers are. So in some firms, lawyers are very business focused and business development oriented, and they're all thinking about cross-selling. So if I bring a client in, I'm not only thinking, how can I work for this client, but how can I involve other lawyers in other practice areas in working with this client, as opposed to other firms where lawyers are really just thinking about going out and getting a client for themselves, and they're not thinking of the other practice areas who could also service that client. So there are very different cultures to navigate, and when you move from one firm to the next, as a knowledge management professional, the first thing you need to do is sort out which kind of firm you're in.